Charges filed against Hillary Clinton after a corrupt money scheme uncovered. Christine Lalia for the Gateway Pundit reports that the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC got hit with another FEC complaint on Monday. The complaint alleges that Hillary and the DNC used state chapters as straw men to go around campaign donation limits and ultimately laundered the money back to her presidential campaign. The Committee to Defend the President, a political action committee, filed its complaint with the FEC on Monday with the allegations that the Hillary Victory Fund solicited cash from big-name donors, including Calvin Klein and the Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane, money that was allegedly sent through state chapters and then back to the DNC before ending up with the Clinton campaign. In its complaint, the CDP alleges that $84 million was funneled illegally from the DNC through state party chapters and back into the war chest of the Clinton campaign. CDP counsel Dan Backer points to the SCOTUS case that first recognized this exact practice as illegal. CDP counsel Dan Backer said the scheme was a flagrant violation of a Supreme Court ruling that determined such moves were illegal and broke FEC campaign contribution rules, which state that an individual can contribute only $2,700 directly to a presidential campaign. Quote, "It appears virtually every single disbursement from HFV to a state party resulted in an immediate transfer of the same amount of funds from the state party to the DNC," said another page from the complaint. Over 99% of funds transferred through HFV to state parties wound up at the DNC, Backer stated. Now, this new FEC complaint parallels Donna Brazil's account outlined in her explosive book, Hacks, where the former DNC chairwoman alleges that Hillary took complete control over the DNC. So, stop wasting time and lock Hillary up already. She's broken the law so many times already, it's unbelievable she is not behind bars yet. Hopefully that it happens.
Do you think he could have gotten away with a complete mea culpa in January when he decided to cover it up? Do you think at that moment he could have said, I'm going to throw all my money on the table, the American people like me, they're going to buy this?
Well, I think he probably couldn't do any worse. I don't think he could do worse. I think his lawyers, and in particular the lawyer, I won't even mention names, but representing him with respect to Paula Jones, I thought did a terrible job. Right. He should have never been there. He should have never gotten in there. I mean, what Bennett did in that case was, I think he just did a terrible job. You would have settled. Well, I would have done something certainly different than what they did. I mean, that all started it. Paula Jones is a loser, but the fact is that she may be responsible for bringing down a president indirectly. And, you know, that statement was a bad statement to have been made, and it's proven to be false. So,
which statement was that? I'm sorry.
There's Paula Jones in the deposition, right, which really started this.
But he denied it, which is if you're in a hole, stop digging.
Well,
is there a certain point where you have to just sort of walk away from the deal and say, I'm not dealing here anymore, I'm going to drop this line?
Well, I think his little speech afterward was a disaster. It wasn't the right tone, and I'm not sure he should have done it. And I'm not even sure that he shouldn't have just gone in and taken the Fifth Amendment and said, look, I don't get along with this man, Starr. He's after me. He's a Republican. He's this, he's that. And, you know, just taking the Fifth Amendment. It's a terrible thing for a president to take the Fifth Amendment, but he probably should have done it. I don't think he could have done any worse than what's happened. It's such an embarrassment to him. I mean, I see him walking around. It's like a terrible embarrassment.
And you think when you see him doing this, what comes to your head as a businessman about the miscalculation he made? Well,
it's just that there are so many miscalculations, and he's had such bad advice. It's just been so badly handled, and it's pretty scary. You know, he's really been a Teflon guy. They compared him with Reagan with the Teflon, and he has been a Teflon guy. That Teflon has exploded all over the place.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
There was something icky about pursuing this. There was no dignity here from anybody.
Prosecutors emphasize the real issue here is not sex, but the president allegedly subverting the legal system by getting others to lie and obstructing justice.
The evidence suggests that the president repeatedly tried to thwart the legal process in the Jones matter.
The Constitution says that a president can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, but the Constitution does not define what those terms mean. So they're up to Congress to define.
I do not think that unless these misconduct raises to the level of an assault on our fundamental political system, that they're impeachable, even if every one of them is true. This was not an impeachable offense. It's very painful. It's very embarrassing. It has nothing to do with the running of the government. There were a number of Republicans who knew that this was all nonsense, but they were going to go along because they were being forced by the party.
History unfolding in the nation's capital today as a somber House of Representatives voted for only the second time in American history to impeach a president of the United States.
After a lifetime of striving for a celebrated rank among American presidents, this diligent student of history was handed his place today, one he did not want but can never give back.
I want the American people to know today that I am still committed to working with people of good faith and goodwill of both parties to do what's best for our country. It's what I've tried to do for 6 years. It's what I intend to do for 2 more until the last hour of the last day of my term.
It was up to the House to decide whether there was grounds to impeach the president, and then it is up to the Senate to conduct the trial and act as essentially the jury.
The said William Jefferson Clinton be, and he hereby is, acquitted of the charges in the said articles.
On December 19, 1998, Bill Clinton became the second United States president in history to be impeached when the House of Representatives passed 2 articles of impeachment, accusing him of perjury and obstruction of justice. The previous January, independent counsel Kenneth Starr began investigating allegations that Clinton lied while testifying in a civil suit against him. In his testimony, Clinton denied having sexual relations with a White House intern named Monica Lewinsky. In August, Clinton appeared before a grand jury investigating the matter after evidence indicated that the two did have an affair.
My goal in this deposition was to be truthful, but not particularly helpful.
In September, Starr delivered his report to Congress, alleging that the president had committed a variety of potentially impeachable offenses. Following the release of that report, members of the House of Representatives argued heatedly over whether to impeach the president.
What does lying under oath do to the rule of law? Do we still have a government of laws and not of men? Does the law apply to some people with force and ferocity while the powerful are immune?
The president had an affair. He lied about it. He didn't want anyone to know about it. Does anyone reasonably believe that this amounts to subversion of government? Does anyone reasonably believe that this is what the Founding Fathers were talking about?
After considerable debate, the House approved 2 articles of impeachment, making Clinton only the second U.S. president ever impeached and the first since Andrew Johnson in 1868.
The yeas are 221, the nays are 212. Article 3 is adopted.
In January 1999, members of the Senate were sworn in as jurors in a trial to determine whether or not Clinton was guilty of the charges against him and should be removed from office. As specified in the Constitution, Chief Justice of the United States William Rehnquist presided over the trial. On February 12, 1999, the Senate found Clinton not guilty of either of the articles of impeachment.
And 2/3 of the senators present not having found him guilty of the charges contained therein. It is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said William Jefferson Clinton be, and he hereby is, acquitted of the charges in the said articles.
This day in history.
Oh, what a great day. I remember I was just a wee little lad on this day in history in 1998, but Bill Clinton was impeached for lying under oath to a federal grand jury and obstructing justice. Let's roll a clip.
House Resolution 614 resolved that Mr. Hyde, Mr. Sensenbrenner, Mr. McCollum, Mr. Geekas, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Booyer, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Shabbat, Mr. Barr, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Cannon, Mr. Rogan, and Mr. Graham are appointed managers to conduct the impeachment trial against William Jefferson Clinton.
On this vote, the yeas are 228, the nays are 206. Article 1 is adopted.
Sad for Bill. Now, why was he impeached?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. These allegations are false.
But then, about 5 minutes later, he admitted this.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. It constituted a critical lapse in judgment and a personal failure on my part for which I am solely and completely responsible. I misled people, including even my wife. I deeply regret that.
That was quite a change. Now, how could Bill Clinton make both of those statements with a straight face? It's because he's also the guy who said this.
Knew of your relationship with Ms. Lewinsky. The statement that there was no sex of any kind, in any manner, shape, or form with President Clinton was an utterly false statement. Is that correct?
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is.
Yes.
It depends on what the meaning of the word is. Get it? It's unbelievable to watch that. When he's referring to is when he told his aides, there's nothing going on with Monica Lewinsky. Now, he was following the classic mob advice of deny till you die, so Bubba explained himself. He said, if is means is and never has been, that is one thing. If it means there is none, that was a completely true statement. Now, if someone had asked me on that day, are you having any kind of sexual relations with Ms. Lewinsky? That is, asked me a question in the present tense, I would have said no, and it would have been completely true. Completely true, he says. Completely true. Slick Willie Clinton. So he got impeached. Clinton was the second president in American history to be impeached. 4 charges were considered. There was perjury, obstruction of justice, a second perjury, and abuse of power. The first 2 passed. The House decided not to pursue the second 2. So he lied about a 1.5-year long sexual affair with Monica Lewinsky, a 21-year-old intern who, when he was 49 and 50 years old. So Democrats tried to play it off as some little fling. Clinton's associates and his wife and campaign managers smeared the women as bimbos and trailer trash. But remember, this isn't some fling. We're talking about the President of the United States and his employee, who is 28 years younger, certainly young enough to be his daughter. Consider for a moment the performed anger right now that we're seeing from Democrats at Roger Ailes, Bill O'Reilly, even Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, on and on and on. What they did doesn't hold a candle to what Bill Clinton did. All of those guys doesn't hold a candle to what Bill Clinton did. Among the more lurid findings of the investigation against him are Bill Clinton's creative use of a cigar on the lowest level staff member in his employ. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but not for Bill Clinton.